Hello friend, welcome back to Toyota Maintenance YouTube channel. I have here 2005 Toyota Corolla S for the front brakes job. So if you want to see how I deal with it, stay with me in this video. As you can see, I already removed the wheel to make this video shorter and not to waste your time, and we will start with removing that caliper, and that's on the back. You see the ratchet there, it's a number 14 millimeter. I have to break loose these two bolts. One of them is here and the second one is right there. Here you can see these two bolts removed. And that allows me to finally remove the brake caliper. That should go nicely off, and safely hang it on the hanger. You never hang it on the brake line, that will be a mistake, can put damage. So this is the right way to do it. Hang it and put it away. Now I will try to show you, if the camera fits there, the reason for this job. Do you see the brake pads, especially the rear one? Do you see how unevenly it's worn? And if you look on the top, there's barely 1 millimeter left. So this is the reason why we are performing this job. My next step here will be removing the brake pads itself. So it's very easy, you just pull them outwards, right? This one. So this one was thicker, like 2 millimeters. And the rear one, I will push it that way, right? And this is the bad one. And if you look there, there's almost nothing left on this side. It was definitely needed to be done. Now if your new ones comes with these reminders, right, they will start scratching the rotor. Remember, that came from the back where the piston is. I continue with removing this part, and this is held by two 19 millimeter bolts, and they are always very tight, so I recommend you have a big bar. You come here from the back, right, and break them loose. Did you hear that? These are really tight, are really hard. It's two of them, again, one is on the top. Did you hear that? Right, now they are loose finally. And I can remove that whole part. I don't want to, skip this. I want to show you in the real time everything. So just wait a few seconds, it will be out. Of course, I can use the air tool, speed it up. And this is the way it goes, right? You remove it this way and it's out. And normally you will grab your rotor. It will be probably already hanging sideways, right, and being loose. But this one, unfortunately, it's stuck. It's rusted to this hub, right here. There's a rust, extensive rust, and this one is not going to go easy. So I will use the rubber mallet not to damage it, the rotor, and I need to start hitting it from the back and hoping it will get loose easily. And if you really have to hit it hard from the back, right, then you don't want the rotor fly off, so I recommend you just put one of those lug nuts there and that will catch it. It finally broke loose, so I can remove this lug nut, and here comes the rotor. Well, my next step is cleaning this area perfectly, right? This needs to be perfectly cleaned, because I'm going to resurface this rotor on my brake light. Here you can see that rotor being resurfaced. It's a first cut. For you who are interested how this works, I made a two-part video, step by step, very detailed, how this brake lathe works. So you can see it on this channel. Here you can see the progress of the second cut. And it looks like this second cut took perfectly care of all those imperfections. So far I cleaned the rotor, but I didn't clean this hub, right? So this needs to be prepared. And not only this area where it was rusted has to be perfectly clean. I need to prepare these surfaces so the rotor will be perfectly seated and will not have any run out or anything, right? So this is all important and it needs to be done. Now I'm confident finally to put that resurface rotor on it, right? And see how much wiggle room there will be, how loose it will be, right? When I put it in. Right? Look at it. You see? That's how it's supposed to be. Loose, right? Not being stuck by that rust. If I want to prevent rust, I can use very small amount of anti-seize, right, and put very light coat of it here in this area. It's optional, right, very thin, and that will actually prevent the rust. I always like to put, again, very thin amount of anti-seize also on these studs, so I have no problem ever removing the lug nuts on this vehicle in the future. So finally the rotor can rest here, and let's go to the next step. And in my case, what I will do, I will re-lubricate these sliding pins, right? They're almost dry, so I use this synthetic high temperature grease, which is for the brake systems. The pin was moving there with a kind of hard, with difficulty. Look at this. When I put it here, it's flying in and out, connected with that dust boot here, right? Oh yeah, this is very, very fast and easy movement. There is a second one right here. Again, that grease is old. So small amounts on this pin, and it goes back there. I'm checking the boots are not ripped. Alright, but it's all good. This is wonderful. So the next step is this hardware here for the pads. I'm using today this set. It came from O'Reilly Auto Parts. Right? I have an account with them. So these are ceramic brake pads. Right? That's a one pair for this side. I already installed the other side and I'm filming this one. And here is the hardware in the back. So if I want, I can remove the old one, right, which is here, and replace it with the new. Before doing that, you have to make absolutely sure even these seated areas are clean. There's no rust, because if there is a buildup of the rust, the brake pads will have a hard time to move. So what do you need to do? These sliding areas is to be perfectly clean with the brush, and only after that I will be putting the new hardware on top of it. Now this is the time, really pay attention what you are doing, right? Pay attention to the detail. Don't bend anything. See how it fits there and correctly install it in the place. right? That should be actually perfect this way. And it's on both sides, so I'm cleaning this one too. And we'll install that hardware. And now I'm going basically backwards, right? These 19mm bolts. So I'm grabbing this part, aligning it around that rotor. And for those obsessed with the numbers, Toyota spec, it's 100 Newton meters for this 19mm bolts. Excuse me, they were 17mm socket. Here it's time for the new brake pads. So I start with using the same grease and lubricating in this area with the very slight coat. Right, it's on both sides. After the lubrication, carefully installing in the place. Make sure you don't bend anything, right? Take your time. And voila, the first pad is in the place. And I will do exactly the same with the one which goes inside. New pads installed. The next step for me is dealing with this caliper and the piston, right? So the piston traveled out because the brake pads were very thin. So I will use the old pad. I will place it here. And this special tool, which will carefully and equally slowly push that piston, right, back in the caliper. Hopefully you can see it. The piston here is being pushed inside, while I have to make sure that up there in the brake reservoir, the brake fluid reservoir, I have enough space, empty space for the brake fluid which is being pushed through the lines, right, back up there. You don't want to overflow it, that brake fluid reservoir, and have the brake fluid flowing on the paint and all over the parts of this vehicle. After I push the piston all the way in, right, hopefully you can see it, it changed. I'm ready without twisting this brake line, right? You don't want to have it twisted around. I'm carefully putting the caliper back, and I will be bringing those 14mm bolts which are holding that caliper. One of them was on the top, right, you remember? And one of them was on the bottom. Need to use that 14mm, right, and nicely tight those bolts. I will check everything one more last time. I have all 4 bolts. The caliper is nicely floating there and back, right? Everything is loose, so it's not stuck. So I'm definitely ready to start installing this wheel back. Carefully, equally seat those lug nuts, right? Only after that I will use the torque stick. That should be enough. I will confirm that I have a correct level of the brake fluid in the brake fluid reservoir, right? In this case that's a max, so I'm right there. This is perfect. And I continue with putting correct torque on those lug nuts, right? I don't trust those torque sticks. It looks the torque stick did a good job, and it is 110 Newton meters. Oh, you see, this one wasn't actually. This lug nut needed a little bit more. But we are not done. Something important needs to be now done right now. Don't go away. You have to make absolutely sure you don't skip this step. And there were many accidents already happened because people forgot. They did a brake job and they forgot to hop in the vehicle and use that brake pedal and kept pumping it. I wish you felt how soft it was, because right now I'm pumping those pistons. Oh, right now finally the pedal is hard, because I was moving those pistons tight on those brake pads. It happened many times. People were in a hurry, they did the whole brake job. They jump in the cabin, right, under the time stress in hurry. He didn't pump the pedal. Now they start the engine, put it in reverse, start backing, and they touch the pedal, but there's nothing. It goes to the floor. The car is moving. They touch it again, still nothing, and they hit something behind them, right? So you have to absolutely make sure, pump it up, feel the firmness in the pedal, and finally, right now, I'm ready to go on the test drive. And even then on the test drive I have to be very careful, right? I will observe that brake-in procedure for that brake new pads. I will do that. I will rather find some road which is empty, there's no traffic, and I will observe how the brakes are working, do the complete test drive, and only then the car will be ready to go back to the customer. So I know this video will be long, but I try to show you every single detail so you really can see how this job can be done. If you like it, give it a thumb up, and please make sure you are subscribed. I have way more coming your way soon. Thanks for watching and have a great day, my friend.